Okay, so we're back here. Now, last video we did a little bit of testing on some of the sentry guns, got a few issues fixed with them. There's probably more than just those few issues to fix. This video we're not really going to focus on that. We're going to continue off where we left off the last video, which is working on the nuclear blast. Now, this is the crater created by it so far, which is a 22 radius right now. We kind of want to make it bigger, so we're probably going to double the radius. But additionally on top of this, one of the things we're going to go ahead and add here is one, we're going to fix water being here. There's a few options we have available. The first thing is I just want to see if we can murder the water off straight out. And then the next option after that is we're going to probably trigger a microwave blast right before we trigger our other blast types. So let's go ahead and find our blast and we'll take a look at it and we'll see if we can remove the water. So right now we pretty much have a hardness check. Now I have a theory that is potentially the block fluid has a unusual hardness. Let's see where this is used at. Use a fluid classic. Fluid classic is then used by... Is there really a block milk built right in... Oh, that's mine. Okay. I was like, what? About to say, is there block milk built into Forge, which would be kind of cool. Okay, so I'm going to have to go hunt down where the fluid blocks are. So we want to go to the blocks class. And then I just want to look for water. Its hardness is set to 100 for both of these. Light opaquency name. So the hardness check is not what's causing us problems. So it's not that. And the should path is just a distance check. Same here. This is just a check to see if we're inside the map and a few other things. So it's not that then. Then why aren't we removing water blocks? Might have to do a few things here. Now, one of the things we probably could do is we could trigger the microwave blast first, then trigger the nuclear blast, then do a few different things. I'm trying to think of the best way to layer these up. One of the number one things I'm thinking of doing is just inside blast do a post trigger. Yeah, we could just do something like this. We can do protected. Protected list I world. Or no, we don't want to do that. We want to do whatever this is. This is a blast handler. The explosive handler. Yeah, that'll work. So what we'll do is go, okay, explosives to trigger after. And we'll just keep a list of what explosives we want to trigger, and actually we'll make this public instead of private. That way we can create a blast, and then there should be a method. Yeah, do affect others. And what we're going to do is we're going to do, before this, then we want to go, okay, for I blast handler, or I explosive handler. Actually, I don't think we want to do it this way. There is a particular way we're supposed to trigger blasts. Yeah, trigger explosive. So I'm going to go explosive registry.trigger explosive. And I think we just do toLocation for that. And then we need a handler, so handler would be this. Then we need a trigger cause, a size. A size is going to match what we're currently at. And then we need MBT. Might want to make a handler for this, because we might want to apply MBT to this, but I'm just going to leave it empty for the moment, because we're just going to do something really crude. We want to do new trigger cause explosion. And then size, and then new MBT tag compound. Oh, this actually wants an explosion, so we want wrapper explosion. We're going to leave a couple to-dos here, so I'm going to go to-do store size, MBT, and trigger cause. Because we may have to do weird handling for this, but this will work for the moment, because what we can then do is we can go to our EX nuke, and we can essentially start chaining explosions. Theoretically, we can chain explosions. Actually, I'm trying to think of how to do this. So I want blast nuke equals that. Nuke dot trigger after dot add. Might want to go back into the explosion real quick. And I think I'm going to add a null check just to be safe here. Because I'm going to call the explosion registry, and I'm going to start getting explosives by ID, and there's a chance that these could be null if handler doesn't equal null. And then what I want to do is I want to get the explosion, so we're going to go client proxy. And then what I want to fire off is a microwave blast, just to test this system. So explosive registry.get. There we go. So that way, as soon as the block are done, we're going to trigger microwave blast. And that is something we wanted to do anyways. But this isn't going to solve our water issue. It is going to kind of get rid of the water, but not in the way we want to. Speaking of which, I need to go take a look at the microwave blast. Because it actually does work on water, surprisingly. And what I kind of need to do is, if we're going to fire a block at it, we don't want to trigger update until everything's done. I'm trying to think of where to do this precisely. Where is the microwave? I think nothing's organized. Here it is. So we fire off, if water, we set it to air. What we want to do is we want to get our update notification inside the block edit. Because this is going to have a notification on it. So we're going to leave this by 3 by default here, but we're going to go up to the top. And public int placement notification equals 3. That way I can then go here and go set notification level, and then I can set 2. 2 will update the client, but will not update the block. It's actually really important to note that. Okay, and this needs to return block edit. Block edit, and then we want to return this. And then fix our mess up. Speaking of nuke stuff, I believe we were just given an icon. Ooh. Yeah, this guy's been giving us free icons and stuff, and he actually just sent us a icon for that. So save image. We'll go ahead and implement this here in a second. And then let me open that back up because he sent us the corner icon and then he sent us the actual explosive icon. So we're going to download both. Save image. And then what I'll go ahead and do is toss those in ICBM, and I gotta give him more credit now because I'm happy we get people that will just donate textures to us, because that's one of the main things that I actually am not very good at doing is textures. Not that I can model much either, but both are an issue. Okay, so I should be able to just throw both these in here. I think he named the explosive correctly, so I shouldn't have to change it. And then we'll toss it in there. Okay. Radiation sign I don't think we're going to use precisely right away. We may use it for the crafting item real quick, but I got to do some more things with that. That means as soon as we load in, that should start to work, although I think it's a little bit larger than it should be. Because I'm just checking against these right over here and these over. Well, I might need to scale it, but that's not too big of a concern. That's something I can do pretty easily. We'll go ahead and use it as is for a while, and then we'll go, okay. Thank him for his help. And then I need to close a few of these. Got a little bit too many of these open. Okay, so that should do a notification level of 2, which will prevent it from updating water. And then I need to figure out why this is not editing water. Because it pretty much, if anything else, it's going to sit at the air. Also, we want to do set notification level to 2 in case it does kill water off. Because it's just flat out skipping water for some reason. Whatever. We'll reload this because I don't think I have to do anything else. Oh yeah, I do have to restart Minecraft because I did just add something. So go ahead and close that. Hit run and then hit debug. And we'll toy around with this some more because the plan is how this is supposed to work. Is we want to trigger the base block destruction. So that's just the blocks that are going to be destroyed by the nuclear blast itself. Then after that, we need to trigger the flash, which is going to do the blinding effect. We then need to trigger the shockwave, which is going to do most of the actual destruction damage. We then need to do the pyroclastic style cloud, which is part of the shockwave, which will catch things on fire. We then got to, of course, do all of our radiation, because there's going to be an instantaneous burst of radiation, so anything around the blast is going to get irradiated. If it's organic, it's going to be screwed up. One thing with the radiation, it is not going to be a potion effect. It is actually going to be a permanent effect applied to an entity, so it is going to really screw with your HP. It doesn't matter what kind of armor you're wearing, it's going to mess with you. That is unless you're wearing a radiation suit, which then depends on the level of your radiation suit and depends on how close you are is how much or how little you'll be affected. Most radiation suits will protect you, except you could still get blinded. So if you're staring at the nuke when it goes off, you're going to get blinded. The blinding effect will be a potion effect, I think. So I think I'm just going to use the vanilla blindness. I may do a permanent blindness, which basically means your character is going to be dead. Because if you go blind in a game, you're just... I don't know if I'm going to do that as permanent, because the biggest problem with permanent effects like that is it does make the game unplayable. Yeah, I probably won't make permanent blindness, at least not in most difficulties. I'll leave the option there in case a GM wants to be an asshole to you guys. I'm not going to remove that possibility. If I do add permanent blindness, I will try to give you guys ways to still play the game with it. So what you'll have is your sound will go a little bit higher, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. I might have to go talk to some people on accessibility. For those of you who don't understand what I'm saying, I'm thinking about real life blindness, and I'm trying to think of like how do people in real life do this? Because there are systems to let people play games like Minecraft for blind people. I didn't know they existed, but they are a thing. Anyways, let's just hit that spot right there. Oh, water disappeared. Now, is that actually being disappeared because the nuke hit it, or is the shockwave running? Having trouble telling. It might be because I'm seeing the gravel not moving either. Because that is gravel right there, right? Yes, it's gravel. I think it's working correctly. I need to also work on rounding these explosions off a little bit better. It's working. Not as exciting though, because we don't have particle effects and stuff, so yeah. For those of you going like, oh, it's just deleting blocks, well, yeah, we are in the fundamental levels of the explosion. It is deleting water though. I'm going to remove, oh shoot, we left debug code on, didn't we? Debug's working. I need to turn debug off by default. I think I'm just going to go ahead and remove the debug real quick. Yeah, we're just going to get rid of it because it's no longer needed. We added it just solely for the fact that I wanted to make sure that stuff was running properly, but now it's not necessary, even though I really should have left a way in here for me to debug it. But if I need it again, I will just re-add it again, and then when I re-add it, I'll make it more sophisticated so that way I can turn it off and on when I want to. Most likely, I'll create an external application that I can just enable debug whenever I want. This means I am going to have to restart Minecraft real quick. But when I go to restart, I want to actually remove this line real quick. I want to see if the blast itself is killing water now that I did that notification system, which is kind of important. The thing with this, though, is I do need to come back through and decide what blocks do need to be notified, because there are some blocks that do depend on notifications. If we actually go down into here and... Oh, it doesn't explain notification tests. Okay, yeah, so it does give you some tips here. Flag 2 will change to the client. Flag 4, prevent the block from being re-rendered. So this is if you want to do some really trolly stuff. 3 is your normal. 1 will cause a block update, but it won't do anything else. So it won't re-render the block. 2 will re-render it, and we'll send it to the client. And of course, as I noted, 3 is the default, which will re-render it, will update it, will notify, will do block update changes. Usually we want to do 2, which we're using to prevent water from updating, prevent lava from updating, but it will do things, it'll fuck up pistons. There's a few other things it'll mess with. I don't have a good list on it. I used to. I've literally lost most of my notes from the early days of Minecraft where I had this stuff like perfectly reverse engineered, where I knew exactly what everything did. What I'm going to do one of these days is I'm going to go get a 3-ring binder. I'm going to go find all my notes. I'm going to categorize them and then build onto them. That way I can pop the binder open and I go, okay, this tab is block, and I can open it up and it'll get all my notes on block, and I go over this tab and it'll be entities. I probably should digitalize all these notes actually is what I should do, but it's a little tedious. The reason I still use handwritten notes is it's just a lot easier to handwrite something for me than it is still to type, even though I've been programming here now for 7 years. And we're just waiting for this to update and load. Still got some things open here. Close these, close that, close that. I'm going to leave those two open because I've been using those a lot today. Close down my build server right there. And I guess we can synchronize some things here. There we go, synchronize that up. That way if the build servers run anytime between now and then, it'll have that code already built up in it. Commit those changes, push those up. And the last thing we want to do is prefabs, which is what our changes just went for blast simple and stuff. Moved debug for blast simple path, added post blast triggers for blast prefab. Always important to make sure you push your code as you work. There we go, Minecraft's loaded now. It's a good use of our time while that's loading. Just shoot that area real quick. That instantaneous reaction though. See if the sentry gun gets killed in the process. No, right at the edge of the blast. It's killing the water off, so that's good. What we're going to need to do though is we're going to need to post trigger water updates. Because now this isn't going to flow and we want this to flow, so. How we do this, by the way, is really dumb, and I'm going to have to work on it later. But what I'll go is I'll go through all the block edits, and then if there's anything on the edge of the block edits, I'll notify it. There's a couple other blasts that do that, but okay, so that's not the microwave doing that. So we do want to trigger the microwave blast still. And I need to go get my notes on my nuke here. So if we go to ICBM, which if you guys do Patreon, you can get access to my ICBM dev folder. There's a lot of stuff in here. Then we want, yeah, the nuke. So I believe there should be a list of how far I want the microwave blast to go. Microwave blast isn't even in this list, so we're actually going to remove that. We're going to want a thermal that's going to be twice the size. So we're going to grab this, and what we're going to do is we're going to fire off an endothermic. So that'd be temperature. And we're just going to use this temporarily right now because in reality I need to actually use a better explosion as a easy word-wise for this. And then this is where we need to actually store how big of an explosion we want. So we're going to want a method for this. And then how this will work is we'll go string explosive ID. We'll go double size, trigger cause trigger, and then MBT tag data. And then we're going to need a class for this. I'm going to go toss this into the core here, and we're going to put it down into the prefabs where the rest of the explosion stuff is. And we're making a new class. It'll be post blast trigger. And we'll make this more sophisticated as we go, but right now it's pretty much going to be iExplosive handler, and what else are we going to do with this? So we're going to store them as post blast. That's how we're going to store it. And what you'll do is you will just kind of create it here. So we want to go iExplosive handler equals explosive registry.get explosive ID. And we're going to go if handler doesn't equal null, then we want to get a new post blast. And with this, we want to pretty much put everything in here. So we want to do handler, size, trigger cause, and data. And then we'll create a constructor with that. So create constructor. This would be this.handler equals handler, and we got to make the rest of the variables here. So we're going to do trigger cause. This would be cause. And we're kind of sorting by size of the objects here, by the way. And then double size. Trigger cause. This dot data equals data. This dot size equals size. By the way, it doesn't really matter what order you assign these from here if you're familiar with programming and you had that question. There's no real modification for that. Anyways, another reason why I'm making this really quickly is I want to also do this, and I want to add a list of post blast triggers we can add to the next one so we can basically chain our explosions. Okay, that should work because we just need a data object. We don't need anything impressive. And then we just want to go, okay, explosives to trigger. Add blast trigger, and then what we also want to do is we're going to return this, that way we can chain this, and we're going to return null, and then here we're going to return blast trigger. And that should work. We just got to come down here now, and what we want to do is not handler here, we want post blast trigger. But what we're actually going to do here is we're going to call handler.triggerExplosive. And the only thing we need to pass in is location. Create method. And this is going to be explosive registry.triggerExplosive location, handler, cause, size, and then data. That way it simplifies our code a little bit here. And then we can get rid of that to do because we just basically did that. That'll work. Now we just need to go over here and we want to do add. Is that really just how that method's called? No. That's not what I want to do. I was using the wrong method here. So we add post blast trigger and we want to do endothermic. Add a couple methods here. Protected, void, add data. This would be B blast. So what we actually want to do is we want to add the explosion to the nuke after all the other data has been added. That way I can then properly get the size for this. Because how this is going to work is it's going to be blast.size times 4 pretty much. That size, and then we want trigger cause, and then we want some other things. Trigger cause. Yeah, we would do just trigger cause explosion. And this would be blast dot. Is that actually not exposed publicly? Surprisingly, it's not. Make these two public. There we go. And then just do new MAT tag because we don't really need anything for that. And then for this, we want to do post blast trigger like that, and then we want to go, okay, if it's not null, then we want to add something else. Now, our next thing we want to add to this would be an EMP, of course. So we'll grab this real quick, and our EMP is going to be radius at 10 increase. And what is EMP actually called? Go find our blast code. Actually, we don't do blast on here. We want to do blast trigger. Create method. And this just actually needs to be trigger cause. And if we go here, we can pretty much copy this code right there. As it, well, actually, I'm going to copy that whole piece. And then just put it right there. Only difference is we're going to have to change this real quick. And then we want to change a few of these variables. Getting almost there. This will give us our layered explosion effect. And with this, we'll actually be able to take this from just the nuke and be able to do other things with it. Though with the nuke, I still got to do shockwave. This will be our thermal right here, which is 150. We're going to toy with this. I got to do the flash here at some point, which will take a little bit of time to do. Won't be too long to actually code that up. But I need the EMP, which I got to go to ICBM to get the name. I'm probably actually going to toss the EMPs back into the core because I want to reuse them in a few different mods. I'm still trying to decide exactly how I want to handle that. Because we have all these blasts in ICBM, but they're all recyclable blasts. They're not unique to ICBM. Except for maybe like the nuke, I don't know. Get a little confused there, forgot where my code was. So blast EMP, we actually want EX EMP. So it is just called EMP. I was making sure it wasn't some weird name. Let's close a few of these. So we're going to do EMP here. So after our thermal's triggered, we're going to trigger an EMP. To be honest, the EMP can trigger almost immediately after the thermal, but I'm going to do an order of operation here with the EMP being pretty much the last thing triggered. No, actually, you know what? We're going to trigger this at the same time. The reason I changed my mind on that is I just realized there's things like force fields you may want to have turn off. So there is other things we want to trigger in a certain order. Yeah, we're just going to do this right now. We're just going to register both of those. We'll see the effects to see if they work. We'll have to edit the sizes here. We'll definitely have to configure these, but that'll work. And let's also do super.add data here. Yeah, looks good. This means we don't need to mess with this. This is just going to be used exactly how it is. So I can get rid of that. And we'll go ahead and launch this up and see what we're going to change here. Run debug. So getting closer. Radiation will be the next few things to add. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to create a blast that propagates the radiation instantly. We'll then need to make a blast that just spews radiation everywhere. So we'll need one that just throws radiation particles. The shockwave will of course throw stuff around, but we need to make sure the shockwave runs after the radiation particles get tossed, because what the shockwave is literally just going to do is just going to spread the radiation around. We could make a special version of shockwave that has radiation particles in it as well, which would actually simplify life. But the instantaneous radiation needs to fire before the shockwave, because if you're close to enough to the blast to get hit by the instant radiation, you're going to get screwed. It's going to hit you before the shockwave hits you. So even if you say, for example, somebody teleported you out of there right before the shockwave hit you, you still got hit by that radiation. You're still basically a baked potato. I quite literally mean that too, because even if you had radiation suit on, the radiation would kill you. The kind of radiation I'm talking about is the kind that there really isn't a way to protect yourself from it. It's such a large amount of radiation that any part of you that is exposed would just disintegrate. And this isn't just me saying this, I actually read this from multiple different reports on what the after effects of nukes are. And one of the things they noted is if you're close enough to get hit by that instant spark of radiation, you just kind of die. No lead-lined anything will help you. They may be talking about the neutrons though, because that's the one thing, we got to do neutrons as well. So that's going to really mess with things. I'm going to probably have to do a lot more studying as well on how all these effects work. Because the ideal is I want to get this as close as possible to real life, because I want people to kind of think it through before they drop a nuke on their buddy, because they're like, oh, I'm going to have a laugh. Well, not only did you make that whole area now completely unusable, you pretty much made everything in there unusable. Speaking of which, on the unusable thing, I am going to be making dirty bombs for the game, and I am going to be doing things like cobalt salted ones, which are specifically designed to just spew radiation everywhere. There'll be a large variety of those added because you'll be able to build a dirty bomb before you'll be able to build a nuke. And if you're trying to deter people from using land, that's probably the best way to do it. Anyways, let's have some fun. Okay, so the nuke went off. So that's going to run its blast code. As soon as its blast code finishes, the thermal and the EMP will go off. Should go off. I'm not seeing anything on fire. Let's make sure this stuff's getting added. And then make sure this stuff's getting triggered. Fire another one, I guess. Okay, so there's our add calls. So let's follow these through and make sure that they're functioning properly. Okay, it's going to create our trigger cause first. It's going to then create our MBT. Okay, here we go. Okay, it found our endothermic blast. Cool. Okay, so these add calls are working just fine. I didn't check the sizes on them though. I think we're doing good here though. One thing I might want to do is pop over to the blast code and change where I put my debug line and make sure it's like right here. Is this stuff code not running here? Just shot myself with that. Okay, we're still waiting for the last one to run. Yeah, I still got to work on the threads. We've got somewhere about 6 threads running, but they don't exactly priority queue properly. So sometimes you'll get it where two blasts will be stuck in the same queue with each other, and you have to wait for the first one to finish before the other one. It's something I still got to fix. It's starting to look like artwork with the number of holes I've got pretty much gone. Take a picture real quick. Okay, so we're having problems triggering our post-run code for some reason. Check usage real quick. Okay, I think this isn't running properly. Or this isn't finishing its cycle. One of the two is not happening. Oh, okay, that's running. Oh, that's what's happening. Super.doExpect for block placement. That runs that. Okay. That's the reason why we're not getting our triggered events. Okay, so this code is running perfectly fine. Means that technically is running perfectly fine. We're just not going to get a trigger that run. I think I just shot myself. Okay, that's running. Gonna dig a hole to the center of the earth with a nuclear bomb. I think the Russians tried this. That was the EMP you just heard going off. Which means the thermic bomb went off too. I think we're just waiting for the thermic bomb to finish its thread. It's weird though is how this fired is it's still threading. Okay, let's find a Oh. I'm firing the wrong explosion. I'm firing an endothermic rather than a exo. I wanted an exo. So let's close these, and this needs to be exothermic. So yeah, snow everywhere. That'll run for like the next several minutes, and we'll just eventually be snow everywhere over here. Still nice how quickly these are running after those improvements we made, and if RAM usage has actually been a lot better. A few more optimizations, a few more tweaks, and this code will run so quickly that I won't need to use these delay threads as often. There we go, fire everywhere. That's pretty cool, watch the rain putting it out. Oh man, look at that. And we got the lava effects. Unexpected, but still pretty awesome. I'm probably going to have to, yeah, I'm going to have to make my own thermic version because I don't want this lava. At least not this type of lava. What I might switch to is my own custom lava that actually cools back down into stone after a while. That's what the kind of the heated rocks are meant to be, and I think there is a couple heated rocks in this pile. It's just going to be really hard to see. Let's hit and break that. Okay, I want to get a bucket of water. The lag is amazing on that. Yeah, most of those are still lava, or most of those were not still lava sources, which is what I kind of wanted to check. Okay. Also, it set kind of most of this area on fire. What I really wanted to do was set the area on fire, but that didn't really happen. I think it's still threading though, so if we open this up. Yeah, it's still threading. There's a couple objects threading in here too, so I probably should have done a debug process here to tell me what explosive is threading. And oh yeah, we got 2 threads running here, so there's 2 threads. Oh no, it's 3. Thread 0, thread 1, thread 2. So my multi-threaded system's working pretty good. That's nice. Play with the lava here for a little bit while I wait for it to kill off. Watch my frame rate tank while I do this too. My my graphics card is not exactly designed to render things like rain. I've got like one of those El Cheapo cards that's just meant to like barely get you above the minimum requirements for things. That's Weird. Might want to re-add that microwave blast just to kill water off. Yeah, I'm gonna have to rethink the lava too. I might have to randomize it so it's not as often. That's what I think I'm gonna probably need to do. Because it's doing lava like every one of those edges is lava pretty much. Yeah, most of that was actual lava blocks. Yeah, I think it's a source box. Endothermic is sitting there trying to run it, it just turned to snow. Yeah, so we got an endothermic running, we have a exothermic, and the EMP is running as well. EMP is a really slow blast. Actually, the EMP is probably going to get sped up here pretty soon because I actually have some code designed to optimize for it. Yeah, that turned everything into pretty much lava. That is going to need to be fixed. We could, instead of doing a thermal, that does, well, I don't know. Let's test. Let's play around with the actual thermal blast here for a couple seconds while I think about this. Because what I'm thinking in my brain is that we could take and we could use a flash fire here. So here's a flash fire. If I throw that off, it just sets everything on fire. Really quickly, just mainly design it as for pyro type activities where you just want to burn something down. But what we're seeing, if I can find the blast. I need to go through here and redo a lot of these icons. Speaking of which, I didn't check to see if his icon loaded. His icon did not load. Oh, his icon won't load until I actually make the client side thing for it. So there's endothermic. That's EMP right there. That's the nuke. Here it is. Yeah, these need to be kind of organized. So if we run this, it sets not only everything on fire, but if we hit things like rock here, it will turn them to lava. So yeah, you can see a lot of that stuff just turned to lava randomly. It'll melt obsidian, so if I hit obsidian with it, it will melt obsidian. Need to rethink that. Because I kind of like the hellfire nature of a nuke, that it would do this and just be that destructive, but it needs to cool down. But I'm trying to think in my head, do I actually want to cool it down? Because it is Minecraft, lava doesn't cool down naturally. And what I could do is, instead of cooling down the lava via its own process, I could just make a separate mod that would cool surface lava down automatically. But I kind of feel like I need to make my own lava that when it's exposed to rain and stuff, it just naturally ticks itself down. But the best way to do that, I'm not quite sure right at this moment. I'm going to leave it as is for now, but a few things I need to work on. Man, these threads are still running. I can tell which one's the EMP. It's this one right here. It's the one running on thread 0, because it's getting no blocks to edit right now. I probably should start to program the explosives. If they run multiple layers with no blocks, they should just kind of stop. But that might have undesired effects. Still got to make this drop charcoal when it hits trees. Because how the exothermic bomb works is you're generating so much heat that you're just flat out vaporizing things, which makes it perfect for the nuke. Except for the fact that we're kind of microwaving stone. Oh, did I just crash? Yeah. What'd I break? Weird. But that would null point right there. Oh, because the tile's not going to be there anymore. That could be problematic. I'll have to work on that some more. That's not what crashed us, though. What crashed us? Server stopping, discard, server terminated, unloading chunks. Oh, here we go. Null point exception in set missile. We're on the world server, so that's a server side thing. Temp fix because I don't know why it went null. Attempt to it's attempt to fall bug. You know, that might be what's been causing problems with us for quite a while. There's a reason why that's been having issues. Is that the missile type may not be set properly. I'll have to look at that though later. But anyways, we got the nuke running, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this video to the end, and hopefully tomorrow, because I'm going to go ahead and probably not do any more videos today, we'll get started on the radiation. And we'll probably recode the thermic blast, and there'll be a few other things we'll probably end up doing.